Hey everybody, it's Sebastian again with another video, and today I got a new topic for you guys. We're going to be talking about motivational interviewing. Now there's a very specific subsection of motivational interviewing, and again, I think motivational interviewing I'm going to add right now, I think it's a great tool, so I would highly suggest if you're a therapist or just anybody in general, definitely look it up. The tools in there are very valuable. But today specifically, we're going to be talking about the Oars. Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking over. Now, what do I use MI for? Well, in my practice, in my life, in a lot of different things, and I highly suggest it, especially for people on the spectrum or people with any kind of neurodivergent brain that doesn't really know how to communicate sometimes, this is that secret key, the golden answer, you could call it, to help you get through some of these conversations, especially if you're not good with small talk or how to engage with people. So this is really going to highlight ways of rolling with resistance, right? Kind of getting more in tune with the people around you, getting more connected with the people around you. So here, let's look at some of the things we have here. So the first thing we're going to have here is open-ended questions. Okay, so what are open-ended questions and why are they valuable? Well, open-ended questions are pretty simple. It's, let's say someone says, hey, how's your day been? Right? So how's your day been? So that's very open. Like, it's not, I can't just say, I mean, I could say good, but if someone says good, then I can say, what made your day good, right? And so now I'm adding another open-ended question, like, tell me more about what made your day good, right? So now I'm increasing the capacity of our conversation style, right? Another thing could be like, yeah, I just watched a movie. I can say, hey, give me your thoughts on the movie. That's an open-ended question, right? So it's encouraging them to discuss with me now what's happening with the movie and what's happening with, their thoughts and their desires or their perspective with this movie or whatever happened, right? Let's say someone's like, yeah, I had a good day. Tell them, hey, tell me about what made your day good today, right? Well, tell me anything interesting happened, right? So again, I'm opening up the discussion. So who or when or tell me more or can you expand on or give me some more information or I'd like to understand, so different ways of opening people up. The reason why it's really nice to have open-ended questions is it really helps people feel that you're listening, because if I'm going to ask you a question, I have to understand what I'm talking about first. So open-ended questions can be very helpful in being able to open up dialogue and conversations, especially when it feels like I don't really know where else to go. Well, enhancing the last topic that we talk about and opening up and expanding further into that topic will allow me to get closer in connection, okay? So open-ended questions, really good way to keep a dialogue conversation going, and I encourage you to see if you can get multiple open-ended questions going, all right? Affirmations. Well, let's talk about what affirmations are. Affirmations are, hey, you did a really good job today, or hey, when I walked in, I really appreciated that you acknowledged, so I just want to give you credit for that, or hey, I appreciate you even having the time to talk to me today or hang out with me, so I wanted to affirm, right, give you an affirmation that I want to tell you you're doing a good job and I'm proud of you, right? So affirmations can, again, highlight, right, positive things about people around us, and it gives us an opportunity of something to talk about, right? Conversation starter. So don't be afraid to use affirmations, or hey, thanks for opening up about that, or hey, thanks for reaching out, or calling me, or contacting me, or hey, I appreciate you being able to be vulnerable with me today. Good thing to kind of add in there when you're not know where the conversation to go. Sometimes that is the next part of the conversation. Okay, let's look at reflections. What are reflections? Well, so let's say someone says, I had a good day. I'm going to say, so you had a good day? Right? I'm reflecting back what I'm hearing from this person. It was really hard today. Oh, so you had a lot going on? No, it was just super confusing. It was a really hard day, right? So even though I got the message wrong, where I was misreading what the word they were using with me, at the end of the day, it didn't matter because they still feel heard. I attempted to show you that I'm interested in the topic you're presenting, and so this was their ability to respond to me in a way where now we both understand we're on the same page, right? So reflections, again, I'm going to reflect back what I'm hearing, maybe add a little detail in there, but I don't want to change it too much. I just want to show you that I'm hearing you for what you're saying, right? Or I'm going to add a little extra. So like I said, it was a long day. Oh, so you had it was just a lot to do. Or no, it was just really boring. So again, I'm just saying something that's in similarity and reflection to what you're stating right now. So I'm adding to it, but I'm also not going outside of the realm of what you're talking about, which makes it, again, feel like it's on the same page. The last part is summaries. So let's think about what summaries are, right? Summaries is when you go ahead and take back, okay, A, B, and C, and then you add them. So let me make sure. So this happened, and this happened, so it led to this. Is that what I'm understanding? And so you're going through A, B, C to make sure with the person that you guys are on the same page, right? So I want to summarize everything I've heard. They may say, oh no, did you miss this context, or this is what happened. Now the reason why all of these things are really important is because in order to do any of these things, I have to be a part of the conversation. In order to ask an open-ended question, I have to know what we're talking about. In order to give you an affirmation, I have to notice details about you, right? In order to have a reflection, I have to understand the context of what we're talking about. And in order to summarize, I have to have been listening the entire time. So when people feel like they're not being heard by other people, think about how we can utilize MI in those instances or moments where, is there an open-ended question I could ask right now? Is there an affirmation I can provide? Is there a reflection I can make right now? Or is there some way I can summarize everything we just talked about? Now, the reason why this is super helpful, especially if you're on the spectrum, right, or you have communication problems, is sometimes I want to talk, but I don't want to make it about me. Oh my God, that happened to me once. The second I do that, there's another person who's going to say, oh, it's always about you, isn't it? It's always about what you think. And that's not our goal, right? This is when these tools come into place. So remember, when I'm a little confused about how to be able to converse with people, or I'm not good with small talk, think about motivational interviewing, think about the Oars of MI and how we can try to use them to, again, open up conversation, dialogue with people, but most of all, allow the people around us to feel validated and heard so that one day we can ask for the same from them. All right, guys, so again, motivational interviewing, test out your skills. If you have any questions, let me know, and feel free to follow and like and keep following for more information and guide as they come out. All right, take it easy, guys. Hey everybody, Sebastian here with another video, and today we're going to talk about couples, specifically on how to increase and improve some of the relationship stuff, especially with couples maybe they've been living together or have been in a relationship long term. This is going to be really helpful for you guys. This also can include family dynamics, so as far as a couple goes, you guys are going to be the base of a family anyways, so if you guys can get some of these things in order ahead of time, this is just going to kind of lead into being in a healthy, supportive family environment, okay? So let's look at what we talk about. Some of these things are going to also include some of the things that we've talked about in the past, where it comes like to the id, the superego, so your child brain, your adult brain. So some of these elements are going to be included in here because they are important to understand how we interact as couples. So some things that is interesting to think about. When we first meet as a couple, really what's engaging us is our child brain, right? That fun brain that, oh my God, you're so much fun to be around. I get so excited to see you. Oh my God, you're the best. That's your kid brain, right? Now the logistical side is your adult brain. Like, hey, you know, they're having a hard day today. I need to give them space. Or hey, you know what? Like they had a challenging thing in school. So let's talk to them about that. Like it looks outside of yourself, right? That's the realistic side of yourself. As much as I want to move in with you today, it's like, well, that's not realistic. We got to look at our finances, and last time I was in a place, this is what happened. So there's all these factors that are involved, but really the initial base of our relationship is our kid brain. This is the person that we're, staying up later for, and maybe canceling plans with the people because we really want to see this person. So this person becomes that source of energy for us, that fun, that excitement that we're looking for. At the beginning of the relationship, this is really what brings us together. Now, sometimes what ends up keeping us together may be the adult, right? It's like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this person. They're not that bad. They're okay. So, I don't want to make changes. So even though my kid might be mad at them, you're not giving me that love you used to give me. You don't even take me out anymore. You don't talk to me like you used to, right? That little kid starts to get angry because it's not getting its needs met. But maybe my adult brain keeps me in the relationship because I don't want to cause any more problems. It's not a big deal. That's fine. But the problem is when the adult is only the one taking over, you get no kid brain. Well, you're going to get upset with your spouse. And I'll give you some examples of what that may look like. Let's say you come home and one partner is doing laundry, doing the dishes, right? Maybe calling the bank and getting on the phone. The other partner jumps on the video games and now they're playing games all night, right? And so you can see these two people. One person's in their child brain and one person's going to be in their adult brain. Now the challenge here is that when people are in kid brain, well, adults don't want to be around those people. When you're having fun and I'm not, it kind of annoys me, kind of bothers me that you get to just enjoy yourself and I'm over here having a hard time because internally my kid brain is getting upset. It wants to have fun too. It wants to enjoy itself too, and it's not able to because this adult brain's like, well, we got to get this done, we got to do this. And then I'm looking at you like, well, why aren't you helping me? You see me, I'm working over here, I've had a hard day, and you're not even helping me. That's that little kid saying, I wish I was playing too, okay? Now, let's look at the other side, right? Being the adult, right? Well, again, if this person is always active and, working on cleaning their house and they're never having any fun, then the other partner's like, well, we never have any fun. We're always working. We never have time together. We never do anything. You're never doing anything fun or interesting. You're always just working or always just doing chores or always burnt out, right? So you can see either one of these sides. If you're in a child brain all the time and you're an adult brain all the time, there's negatives in a relationship. Now, why is this important? Well, in order to really get on the same groove as your partner, a lot of it comes with are my brains in synchronization. Because if one of us is doing chores and one of us is having fun, there's going to be resentments building up internally, okay? Now, what I find affects couples the most, lack of communication. Can you imagine that? So, let's look at what positive communication and when we really work together, what that can look like. Now, what I tell people to typically do is we want to set a time where both people in the relationship are engaging in productivity, right? This is that adult part of your brain, right? So like we said before, you're adult. Now, what I recommend couples do is they try to be synchronized, right? So both people are doing productivity at the same time, right? So you're doing laundry, I'm doing the dishes, you're doing this. And we also say maybe from 7 p.m., I don't know, till 6 p.m. or 7 a.m. till 6 p.m., right? We both decided we are going to be in our adult brain. We are going to be working on being together, a unit, and we're going to get things done as a group, right? So from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., or 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., we're on the same page, right? And then we might say something like, okay, from 7 p.m., I don't know, until maybe 10 p.m., we're now going to have some fun time, right? So now we're engaging in fun together. And what this is allowing is both brains to be synchronized, right? If I'm working, you're working too. And then at the end of the day, we both feel like we did our part. And then we're both going to have fun. Now, there's a couple ways to think about how to have fun. We're going to have fun together doing the same activity. And then there's parallel fun where it's like, hey, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, but we're still in the same environment together. And then there's the, hey, let's go do our own things, which is okay. And I think having a mix of all of those is the ideal situation. Sometimes I'm going to go play bowling, and you're going to want to read your book, and you want to be home, and you don't want to go out, and I want to go out. And it's okay because we're both in our fun, and we both were productive. Now, sometimes you may start doing your own individual thing, and by the end of the night, you're both doing something together. And so when you give yourself enough time to get involved together, again, it creates healthy communication and healthy dynamics within a couple because both of you are aware now we're both having fun. We've both agreed that this is the time we're going to have fun together, right? Or even like, together in by our own time as a couple, parallel together. So whatever that means, at the same time, we're both choosing to do this thing. Now, why is that important? Well, when we both have fun, it allows us to relax. So maybe we say, okay, from 11 p.m. till, 6 a.m., we're in relaxation mode here, right? We're going to be relaxing this whole time. We're going to be chill and cooling off, right? This is going to lead to more intimacy, more calmness, more togetherness, right? We're on the same schedule, on the same page. And again, this is another thing. You could have different work schedules, or one of you has to wake up earlier or later, and you can still get things done. What if you both woke up at the same time, right? And one of you has to go to work, but the other one can get up and start doing chores around the house, start doing their own whatever that is, right? And when the person gets back from home, again, and we're on the same schedule, we try to work, okay, if you're going to work from this time to this time, I'm going to work from this time to this time. And again, we stay consistent with I'm meeting my chores, I'm meeting my demands, I'm doing what I need to do to make sure that we're both on the same page. So why is this important? Again, let's go back here. We're both being productive, we're both having fun, and we're both relaxing. And we both know when these things are going to happen. So it takes away from that confusion of, well, you were doing this and I was doing it. No, we're on the same page. And how can this affect the family? Well, think about the same thing. What if as a family we both decide, hey, we're going to be productive during these hours. We're all going to take a break and we're all going to have fun during this time. And whatever can be done, let's do it tomorrow, right? If it can be done tomorrow, let's leave it for another day. Get it done later. Have fun at the same time as a unit. And all of us get to relax at the same time as a unit. Why is that important? Because we're all always synchronized on the same page. we always know what's expected of us throughout our day. Now, is this an ideal thing for everybody? No, it's not going to work for everybody, especially if you have a night shift or something and your partner works the day shift. These are going to be challenging situations. But ideally, the closer we can get to this homogeny, the better quality relationships you're going to have with your partner. All right, guys, thanks a lot. So let's review here. Let's be on the same brave wavelength, right? Let's both be kids together. Let's both be adults together. And let's communicate our schedule so we both know what's expected from us throughout our days. All right, guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Hey guys, it's Sebastian back, and today we're going to do a video on the child brain and the different ways to recover your id. Now, it's very interesting because without the id, it starts to create depression. So when we're not satisfying our inner child's needs, we start to feel depressed because life doesn't quite have the same meaning or punch. So a good way to kind of think about it is when little kids kind of get down, they kind of go lay in their room, they don't want to be talked to, or you're feeling really down, but the only way to get them out of that mood is to what? Brighten them up, give them something fun to do, give them something exciting to do. And so when we become adults, a lot of times what ends up happening is, depending on your childhood and the way you were provided these abilities to engage with these things, they may have pushed it out of you, right? You may be, oh, no, I'm just productive, I gotta get my stuff together. And then there's this immense guilt that comes when having fun. Now, the way to combat this is I'm going to teach you today, which are 2 ways to recover your inner child's battery, right? Now, the most common way I find in our society is vegetative recovery. Now, let me break down what that means for you. It's when you've had a really hard day and you come home and you just don't want to do anything. Now, little kids are really good at this. If you ever noticed that, been around a little kid, sometimes they're just mindlessly watching shows. It's like they're barely alive. You're like, hey, what's going on? They don't want to talk. They don't want to exist. They want to do nothing. And this child's usually maybe running around, jumping around, but right now they want to do absolutely nothing. Now, why is that important? Well, I like to think of it as when we have a very extremely stressful day, out of the norm, our brain and body start to kind of disconnect a little bit. It's like there's too much feeling going on and I don't want to feel it, so I'm going to kind of disconnect from that emotional state right now. And then we stay disconnected. And when we're disconnected, well, we don't really feel like ourselves. We know there's something off. We don't want to engage with our feelings because it's going to be too much right now, and maybe our body can't handle it, so we just kind of disconnect, and I just kind of move forward in a numb way, right? Well, what I like to think is we need to rest the body so the brain can come back. So vegetative recovery is about going, finding a show you like, your comfort show, and saying, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. I'm going to go lay down and do not a thing. I'm just going to chill out. I'm out. I'm chilling. And I give myself permission to go do nothing. That's the thing. But only sometimes. Because here's the thing. When we do vegetative recovery, right, like watch a TV show, right? Maybe just mindlessly chill out listening to music. We're not really engaging with the medium, we're just receiving it. That's when we're doing vegetative recovery. However, you can ruin that vegetative recovery by telling yourself, oh man, what are you being lazy? You're not good enough. Why do you need this time off? So you start kind of gaslighting yourself from allowing yourself to actually enjoy your rest. Imagine trying to relax and someone keeps pestering you. Oh, you're gonna lay there all day? You're not gonna do anything? I mean, you're literally allowing your adult brain to just take over and make you feel bad for what your body's telling you you need right now. So the best way to combat that is give yourself permission to do absolutely nothing. Go chill, go hang out, be on your own, right? Allow yourself for your body to reunite, and I promise you, after you allow yourself to do this, you'll be more motivated to get up and do things that you wanted to do prior. Now, sometimes this may take an hour or two. It really affects people too with ADHD, right? Because they get that rejection sensitive dysphoria, which affects their ability to receive criticism and information, or when they're lacking, they really feel that almost like a mood disorder. It hits them, right? It doesn't last very long, but it hits them hard. That's when I tell people, time to vegetate, time to recover, which is something I do myself. I'll put on some Dave Chappelle show. I'll just chill there and do nothing, all right? I might watch some stand-up comedy, or mindless show that maybe I'll watch some funny reels, put a compilation of that. So you can find your own way of vegetating and doing absolutely nothing and doing it with pride because your body and brain need it. But the problem with that is it only recharges your battery 10%. So it really doesn't give you what you need to recover every day. If you went home and just watch TV, that doesn't excite your child brain. Imagine, yeah, you're going to go watch TV? Yeah. Woohoo! Like after a while, your little kid brain's like, yeah, I watch TV, cool. But I need something else. Which is where the second part of how to recover our battery is. It's just fun, right? So fun is very measurable. And we're going to break it down for you what it looks like. So the first part is the goal. We need a goal, right? Maybe it could be learning guitar or building a doghouse. I don't know, whatever you find fun in your life. But we have to have a goal associated with it so I know what my incentive and motivation is for. I need some skills involved, right? So if I'm trying to become an archery guy, like, hey, I got my quiver and compound bow, I'm out there and I have to have a skill of holding the bow, measuring up, filling it out, knowing all this stuff. There's a lot of skill involved. What if I'm building my doghouse? I gotta know how to use a hammer, my screws. I gotta know how to cut wood. A lot of stuff's gonna go into that. Now, challenges. It's gonna be hard. There's gonna be some challenges involved. It might not come out that way. I might cut the wood wrong, right? There's gonna be a little bit of, ooh, how am I gonna do this? So you want a little bit of challenge in there. It gives it some interest. It gives it some reason. No long-term consequences. You don't want to have consequences in your life when it comes to fun. The second consequences are involved, it's not fun anymore. When we have consequences, we can enjoy, right? Just like I can enjoy playing in front of a concert of people. But I might not find that fun because if I mess up, it's super stressful. I need outcomes. Fun is when you're in your garage playing with your friends on your instruments, chilling, having a good time. There's no consequences. Whether you guys finish that song or not doesn't really matter because you don't really play for money, you play for fun. So really, it goes back to no long-term consequences. Now, sometimes it can happen if, let's say, a kid is playing baseball and they're in middle school. The outcomes don't matter as much as when you're in high school and you're trying to get a scholarship, or when you're in college and you're trying to keep a scholarship. So you can see, right, the elements, right? What might have started as a fun activity is now a draining activity. I can still find it enjoyable, but I'm not having fun with it. Now let's look at what we want to cause. We want to feel that dopamine and serotonin rush. We want to feel good about the thing that we're engaging in. We're like, Dad, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. That was awesome. The only way to do that is to experience that dopamine serotonin, right? And here's the thing. Even if you accomplish your goal, you get you need met. You learn how to do a wheelie on your bike. Well, guess what? You're going to set a new goal. Now you're up in the ante. And when your goal is a little harder, well, your skills are going to go up. The challenge will go up. However, what will remain the same is no long-term consequences. Bam! Still the same there. However, I will still increase my dopamine serotonin because trust me, the more I can do it, the better I can do it, the better I'm going to feel. Right? So when you feel that little energy, that's your kid brain, right? Boom, right? The more I don't have fun, the more I don't vegetate, the more I don't recover myself, the more depressed I'm going to feel. So just remember, guys, if you're feeling depressed, you're feeling down, how can I engage in my kid brain? How can I give myself permission to have more fun in my life or just chill out and do absolutely nothing because it's been one of those days? Now, remember, we don't want that to last forever. We want to set limits. We want to always try to go back to having fun. Now, there's 3 ways to develop that. Daily. Well, actually, there's 4. I won't lie. Daily, weekly, / bi-weekly. So you can kind of do bi-weekly with this. And then monthly. Now, some people have said yearly, which makes sense, but we're going to stick to these ones. Now, daily fun could be learning guitar, right? Picking up an instrument, learning a language. Weekly, bi-weekly fun, well, that can look like going to a D&D campaign, right? Joining a softball league, right? Maybe something more, going surfing on the weekends. And monthly could be going on a camping trip, right? Trying some new restaurants, right? Going to a different city for a while for a new event or venue, right? Maybe going on a road trip without a map just to see how far you can make it and get a little lost. Nothing too crazy, but just enough to have a little fun. All right, guys. Oh, and the last one is the yearly one. Again, yearly could be a vacation with your fam, some event that only happens once a year, so you can start planning ahead of time and get ready for it. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure giving you guys some more information. Remember, this is how we recover our child brain. So take care of those little kids inside of you, and guys, we'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Bye. Hey guys, it's Sebastian here. We're going to talk today about anxiety and depression. Now, one thing to be understanding is that we have these things pretty much since birth, right? So to some extent, some level of anxiety, some level of depression. Now, how we manifest these things and how we address them as we get older throughout our age, much more significant in difference, especially, of course, the child can have anxiety, but not necessarily innately. Sometimes they're conditioned to have certain anxieties. Sometimes they've been told by their adults on what they should worry about and what they should be concerned about. Because like if you put a baby next to a tarantula, that baby doesn't innately know that there's fear involved until you tell them spider means bad. So when they see spider means bad, but then they also don't know, oh, I can put it in a box and take it outside, or I can avoid it this way. So they don't innately think about these things, and we don't innately like show them in the same way to teach them those things. So just to kind of understand that depression and anxiety, yes, they do live within the system. However, the way they manifest, we're going to see how, as we get along here, you're going to see some differences. So let's talk a little bit about the development of the brain again and why they're important. So we have 1 to 5 years old, which is our child brain. This is the very impulsive, needy brain, very emotional brain. I want it right now, or, hey, leave me alone, right? This brain knows how to have a good time, right? We call this the fun brain. Kids always know how to have fun. You put a kid in any room, they will make toys and games out of everything in that room, right? They'll go through every drawer. They're going to just start making a game out of being in a chair. It doesn't matter, right? Kids will learn how to have fun, how to stimulate the brain in an engaging way when there is nothing available. 6 to 11, this is your ego. This is developing self. This is like your journey into life, your confidence. You could call it your spirit, right? How hoorah you feel about your life and what direction you're going, and how you feel about yourself and who you are on the planet, okay? Now we got our adult brain, which again has 3 different periods. We have, 12 to 15, you develop peers, right? From 16 to 19, you start understanding your future. And then from 20 to 24, you develop independence, right? So different things happen at different stages, but ultimately this creates your adult brain, right? We call it super ego, whatever you want. Right? That one's called the id, ego. So whatever you want to call them. So we have child, self, and our adult brain. Now, let's talk about the adult brain for a second. Well, this is our productive brain, right? When I get things done, I got my work done, I got my chores done, I got my workouts done. I'm feeling super good about myself and where I land in the planet, okay? Now, let's break down understanding why does this relate to anxiety and depression. Well, let's think about where our adult brain is doing, right? It's our brain that allows us to be productive, to get our responsibilities done, to go to work out, right? To set ourselves up for success, to take that online course I don't want to take, but it's going to give me that certificate I need to get into that program that I want to make more money, to balance out better, to have more, stability in my life, one could say. So that's production, right? Well, our kid brain's important because it gives us our fun brain, right? When I'm overstimulated, it helps me destimulate. It helps me unfocus on the stresses of life and find the enjoyments of life. What do I like to do? How do I be more in the moment, one could say, right? How do I engage with the now? Okay? So this is our fun brain. And then we have the ability to relax, right? So we get productive, we have fun, and then we relax. Now, let's break down what happens when we start losing some of these things. If I start losing my productivity, I lost my job, my car is not working, right? I have to move my living situation, right? So all these little factors may come in and get involved, and that's going to start messing with my productivity. Now let's think about the things that mess with us, right? So anxiety, right? Why does anxiety hit us so much as adults? Well, prior to the age of 12, I really didn't have that part of my brain yet. So life is kind of simple. Life was half as complicated. However, past 12, I start developing this adult brain, right? I start having to think about other people. So we start first thinking about our peers and how that engages. We'll think about high school, right? Oh, what if they judge me? What if this happens? What if I show up? And so a lot of what if situations, what if scenarios start to come up because I can start thinking about outside of myself. I can start thinking about the future, and I can start thinking about how I'm not being independent. And those thoughts start to create anxiety. Now, I will tell you, anxiety is about the future, things that haven't happened yet. And why does anxiety affect adults? Well, adults are the ones that think about future outcomes. How is this going to work out? Now, yes, kids think about the future, but in a very selfish way of, I want it for me. Anxiety tends to be I am feeling like I'm not doing well enough, or I'm not presenting good enough, or I'm not getting my needs met, or whatever it means. But a lot of times it's the judgment of others, right? It's like, how is this going to play out? How am I going to be able to handle this? How am I going to, make sure my peers still think I'm doing okay? How do I make sure my future is still set up? And how do I manage my independence? How do I remain independent? So anxiety is a lot about the future. And why do we develop as we get older? Well, that's the first time we start thinking about the future. This is when we wake up in the morning after a night of drinking and we say, what did I do? Oh my gosh, how is this going to affect this and this? You start concerning yourself with the future. So really fundamentally, anxiety, big contributor, your adult brain, right? That contributes a lot to how you feel, again, because of how am I being viewed, where's my sense of direction, and how independent, how confident, how well am I established in what I'm doing with what I'm doing, right? So there we go. Adult brain, anxiety. Now, depression. Depression's typically about the past, right? It's like, man, I've never amounted to anything. Man, where am I going in my life? We never get to have any fun. We never get to do anything, right? Well, that comes from our kid brain. Our child brain's the one that knows how to have fun. That's the one that you're at work and your best friend shows up, hey, and you come up, what's up? And like, hey, what up? And your boss comes out, you're like, so anyways, you go back to that, adult, right? You let your kid out when it's, boo thing, when it's people that you can just unmask and be free and that get you excited, get you motivated for life, right? Those things that I look forward to, I can't wait, I'm stoked. That's your kid brain. That's the one that can have fun in a moment. However, when we're not having fun, we end up dealing with depression, where it's like, think of a little kid that's like, hasn't been able to, go out or do anything. They're like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Or a kid that you keep telling them, yeah, we're going to go, and you never go. And then one day, like, oh, we should go today. And they're like, I don't want to go today. Doesn't matter, right? So when I'm not having fun in my life, I start to hit a sense of depression, right? That depression hits. Like, kids, think about it. They're like moping around, like, whatever, yeah, it's fine, right? But then you tell them that one thing that just, oh my God, I want to go do that right now. That sounds so exciting. I can't wait, right? They want to get involved. They want to have excitement. They want to have fun. They want to be stimulated. So really, depression is somewhat a sense of lack of being stimulated, under stimulation, right? Causes us to feel that sense of depression, right? Depression tends to be about the past, right? Well, what do kids do? Well, we never get to go. Well, we never got to take me. We never, right? Think about who gets angry. You played without me. You didn't play with me. You didn't, right? It doesn't even think like the adult would, where it's like, hey, in the future, this person, we could play together. Oh, you like that game? Instead of being like, oh, you didn't play with me that one time, you're like, hey, in the future, maybe we can play together. But that requires me to think about the future, right? But if I'm in my depression, I'm not thinking about the future. I can't even think about the now. I'm living in the past. Right? And then when you have both of these having problems, right? Anxiety and depression, well, you're going to have a combo of both. Maybe I'm not being productive enough, right? So I'm getting anxious. And because I'm not productive enough, I'm not having any fun, which then I start kind of getting depressed. So then I have two negatives, right? Not only am I not getting fulfillment with my productivity, I'm not getting fulfillment with my depression either, right? My fun. I'm feeling worse on both ends. So then I'm on a downward spiral where I can't relax, okay? So, kind of breaking it down again, depression is about the past, anxiety is about the future, and then we have the now, which is the present, which is how to be mindful, right? How to live in the moment. Okay, what am I doing right now in the moment? What am I doing with today, like right now? Like am I preparing myself for a better future? But am I also using my past to create a better self for my future, okay? So again, differences between anxiety and depression fundamentally. Anxiety is about the future. Depression is about the past. If I'm feeling anxiety, well, I need to see where is my adult brain lacking. And if I'm feeling depression, I need to say, hey, where can I stand up for myself more and have a little more fun in my life? All right, guys, that's the big difference between anxiety and depression. I'll see you in the next video, and take it easy. Thank you. Bye. Hey, everybody. It's Sebastian here again with another video. And today it's going to be a really new big topic. We're actually going to be talking about ADHD and autism, and we're going to be talking about the overlap. A lot of times I find that my patients and clients have difficulties really understanding the differentiations of like these two diagnoses and also how they're actually really related to each other. And so today I'm going to dive in, I'm going to explain each symptom, I'll give you some examples of what they may look like. So sometimes they present one way when you read them, but then when you actually understand what they're trying to tell you, it makes a lot more sense. I'll give you guys some more tangible kind of insights and more realistic examples to really clarify what some of these symptoms can look like. Okay, so first, let's start with ADHD. Inattention. This is like when you're looking at the computer and you're doing your work, and then all of a sudden someone talks to you and you're like, huh? Yeah, and you go back and then you realize you have no idea what you even said to them. And they'll even come back. You were talking, you're like, I don't remember talking about this. And they're like, well, I totally said this to you. You're like, that didn't happen. It's because, again, you were so in the zone that second happened and it didn't even calculate in your brain. All right, so inattention. Next, we have hyperactivity. So hyperactivity can be, it's not just, organizing piles. It's, I got to move everything and make a pile here and do this. And then I got to walk to my room. Oh, yeah, I got to go grab that thing. And so it's like your whole body gets involved in these activities that you do. It's a whole experience. So when you're cleaning your car, you're going to get everything out. You're going to move everything. You're going to reorganize. So a lot of hyperactivity comes to, I just can't do it like this. I have to do all of it. All right, mind wandering. Well, mind wandering is when you think of this thing, and then it goes to this, and then you're thinking of this, and then you're here, and you're like four thoughts, and you're like, I don't know how I got here. And this is when you're talking to somebody, you guys are having a conversation, and then like you realize, how did we get to this part of the conversation? I don't know. How did we start talking about this? Like, this doesn't seem like the topic we started with. How did we get here? So that would be a big example of like how you could start here, bing, 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 and then you're over here now. All right, time blindness. What does that mean? Well, this is when you think 5 minutes can feel like a whole hour, and when a whole hour can feel like 5 minutes, boom, time's gone. So that could be what time blindness is. And sometimes it's funny when you have ADHD, you start calculating time and activities. It's like, well, if I watch 2 shows, that's about the right amount. If I listen to 5 songs, that's about the time I need to get out of the shower. How many times have I heard this song? About 4 times. Okay. And so it's interesting how with time blindness, there's other ways to kind of cope with it, more tangible things. But it's just interesting to kind of think about it when we look at it that way. All right, working memory. What does that mean? Well, where'd I put it? I just had it. Where'd it go? It was in my hand 5 seconds ago. Where'd I put it? That would be the working memory. Walking in a room and what am I in here for? I don't remember. Right? That whole process, that's a working memory, okay? All right, risk-taking. So this is an interesting one. Risk-taking can look a lot like, well, if my boss gets there at 10 o'clock and I get there at 8 o'clock, I can get it done by 9 o'clock, and then he won't even know it wasn't even done, so it wasn't even a big deal. Or I'll just turn in the paper because I just need a B, and I know I can reread it, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. And like worst case scenario, I get a B because if I get a B, and maybe and so like you start taking these little risks. You start maybe driving a little later, or taking advantage of something, or leaving a little earlier, cutting a corner somewhere. And these little tiny risks at some point could add up and boom, lead to a bigger problem. But in the moment, you're like, it's worth it. I'll just do it later. I'll get it fixed later. I'll take care of it later. Those are, I would consider risk-taking behaviors. Even if they seem minor, they still technically are risk-taking. All right, forgetful. So this is when, hey, can you do this for me in the morning? Yeah, I'll do that for you. And then the next morning, yeah, okay, I got to do that, right? Okay, cool, I'll do that. And then, wait. I didn't do it. You're already down the road like, oh no, I forgot to do the thing. And you even set it up. You even reminded yourself. But because it wasn't a part of your routine, it's very likely you will forget and then ignore it later and not do it. And like, for example, one time I left a suitcase in my trunk for like a month when I should have turned it in away before. But every day I would forget because it wasn't part of the routine. All right. Craves novelty. I need something new in my life. I need new shoes, new haircut, need a new girlfriend, new friends, new work environment, something different. So you just crave that change in your life. I need it. Give it to me. All right, so that's mainly the differentiating parts from ADHD and autism. Now let's jump over to autism. We're going to explore some of those symptoms, and then we'll hit up the overlap here. So, autism. Social signals unclear. So this could be an example of, that guy was flirting with you. He was? Yeah, totally. Or, hey, I've been flirting with you for months. And they're like, I never knew. Or maybe they have a new environment where they're like, oh, we're supposed to shake hands. I didn't know that. Or we're supposed to do that. I didn't know that was part of the ritual here. So unless they're being told something, some social signals may be not picked up by somebody on the spectrum. Okay? Now let's look at deficits in reciprocal communication. What does that mean? Well, that means the back and forth conversation sometimes not there, right? So it's like, hey, how have you been? Good. Well, what are you up to? Nothing. Well, how are you feeling right now? Fine. What do you want to do later? I'm not sure. And so you're not getting a lot of back and forth feedback. There's a lot of reasons why this could be happening. Maybe they're overstimulated. Maybe they're not sure you want to have a conversation with them. Maybe they're distracted. There's a lot of reasons why. But this could be one of those deficits that you may find that they're not really communicating back and forth the way you would expect somebody to communicate with the topic you're choosing. All right, special interest. This could be, it's not just that someone on the spectrum likes, for example, frogs. It's that everything in their house is related to frogs. They have frog carpets and frog blankets and frog cups and everything frog related, right? So again, it's not that people can't have the same interests if you're on the spectrum. It's just the way they engage with these special interests, right? They know typically a lot of extra facts and a lot of details and get very involved in communities that talk a lot about these subjects. So oftentimes it's just a part of their life that they get into. Prefers routine. We're pretty right. Like, hey, you always call me at 4. How come you didn't call me? I just want to know. But that rigid routine is part of that process. Rigid with rules. Hey, you told me you were going to come by 4. I just want to know if that's still the deal or not. Or, hey, you told me you were going to do this and you didn't end up your part of the bargain, right? So you should do your part if I'm doing my part. So they're very particular about if you say you're going to do something, you should do it. Even if circumstances change, it can be very challenging to let go of some of those details that are created as a bond, you could say, right? All right, literal. So sometimes they'll take things at face value. So if you're being dramatic or kind of being, a little extra, they may not know you're being like that, and they may take that information as you're being serious. So you're like, oh my God, I don't even love you anymore. Like, why would you say that? That really hurt me. And you're like, oh, of course I love you. I'm just kidding. But they're like, yeah, but it felt like I just had to have that whole feeling, and it just really bothered me right now. And so that little bit of process can actually cause some more deficits, right? Detail focus. So they really want to explain something on, and like maybe they'll click onto a detail and they want to explain more, and they really wanted you to understand. And so they get deeper in these stories. There's more complexities. That's what you're really looking at, is that detail focus. Or they may pick a word that you use and really go back to that word. That word really bothered me that you used that word, and it really brings up this for me. So just some things like that. Social overload, man. Sometimes just I don't want to be around people. I'm done. I want to remove myself. I want to get away. I just want to be on my own. Now we have social isolation. Sometimes I just need to be on my own. I just want to be in my room. I just want to be with my stuffed animal, my blanket, on my own, be by myself. Okay? Now we've got the overlap here, right? Let's look at some of the overlap. Sensory issues, get that big spoon away from me. I like the little spoon, okay? Sometimes I like certain textures. I don't like tags on my back. Certain, shoes I don't like. The feeling on pressure on my feet. So all kinds of different things can happen both sides, right? For different things. So the overlap here can be either way with sensory issues, right? Sound, taste, touch, all those things. Hyperfixations, it's when you start pushing things out of the way to do the thing you really want to do, right? Interrupting, again, so you're like cutting people off, saying, hey, I'm not, feeling it, right? Or, hey, like, I need to tell you this thing I need to tell you before I forget about it, so I'm going to tell you now, right? That might be something. Insomnia, not being able to sleep well at night, pretty evident, right? Restlessness. If you tell me 4 o'clock, I'm not going to look, but I'm going to look, but I'm not going to look, but I want to call you, but I don't want to call you, but that whole process, that would be that. Stimming, right? Favorite song, telling someone that same story, talking about your hyperfixation. There's many ways this would happen. So just something to be aware of. Fidgeting, right? So moving your chair, or, not being able to sit still. Difficulties with friendships. It's like, man, I haven't hung out with my friend and I want to see them, but I haven't seen my friend in a long time and I want this. So sometimes it's kind of being conflicted with how you feel about talking to people and wanting to be around them, but they also don't want them to be a bad friend. So you're kind of like conflicted on how to feel about these things. So again, sometimes it can be difficult to navigate and balance some of these things. Creative, you typically find solutions that other people don't see. So they're always like, oh my God, how did you think about that? It's just the way your brain works. OCD tendencies. I just really like my parking spot. I just really like being respected. I just really enjoy this, right? So different ways that you might find that, hey, like, I am very particular on some of the things that I like, and I can't unchange some of those things, and that's just how my brain likes the way it's set up. Even though sometimes you can kind of fight it a little bit, but deep down it's going to bother you if it's not done your way. Executive functioning struggles. Again, this is keeping up with responsibilities. Once you lay in bed, it's like, I can't get up. Sometimes getting projects started can be really difficult. Once you start the project, you're good to go, but just that initial start can be very challenging. Emotional dysregulation. Well, obviously, again, having some of these disorders, you have more heightened feelings, more sensitivity. Sometimes you don't feel understood, and this can be very challenging to get a lot of compassion from people around you. And then obviously depression and anxiety can be very common with these two diagnoses. All right, so that's kind of the information. I'll wrap up today with autism and ADHD. I'll probably make some more videos just kind of going into details, explaining a little more about some of the more deficits and some, personal anecdotal stories and things that you can kind of understand from the diagnosis and ways to kind of support each one. All right, thank you guys. I'll see you guys around to the next video. Bye.